go.
Retinaculum. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. And I'd like to consider myself an absolute medical professional, not sanctioned by anyone in these United States or the Caribbean. Having spent plenty of time going to doctors as a patient, as a would-be patient, wannabe patient, or as a team executive. But the word of the day today is a word I never heard, not one time. And that is the injury that Kristaps Porzingis has of the Boston Celtics. I had to start the show with it. We certainly are going to get to hot dogs. I promise you that. But injuries to me are a far bigger story. Let me describe to you what's wrong with Porzingis. No, doesn't even matter. Go somewhere else to talk about dislocation of posterior tibius tendons, left legs. Forget it. Let's talk about how to deal with an injured player when you've got that player telling you, hey, I want to play. I'm ready to be out there. I will die before not playing. We have a responsibility to our players. We have a responsibility to our fans. We have a responsibility to our organization. And we balance that and we allocate that differently according to the situation. Not always according to the injury, but definitely according to the situation. We're in the middle of the NBA Finals. If you know you're a better team with Porzingis on the court, you are having him play. Except, is his life in danger? I'm willing to use that as and this is me talking as team president when I was doing it, not today. But that's a very important and maybe the only threshold. Are we putting the player's life in danger? No. Okay, let's go to the next one. Is our team better with him in the lineup? Giving him an at-bat, does that help our team versus some other guy, the 25th guy? We can pinch run for him. If it's a gapper and he can't run, stay on first, no problem. There's always a chance of Gibsoning, which is the word that we would use. Gibsoning is when you're hurt, you go to the plate and hit a home run. And you can run around the bases, sort of. Kirk Gibson did it for the Los Angeles Dodgers against Dennis Eckersley and the Oakland A's. So the Celtics have to decide, are they a better team with Porzingis on the court? What does this injury do to the impact? Having him clog the middle, having him as a potential shot blocker, having him with the ability to post up, turn around, fake, and then smoothly shoot the mid-range two-point shot. That's effective. I think we figured out you're not going to want to start Al. Doesn't seem to make much sense. Playing him in big minutes, you can start him Porzingis off the bench. You know what I'm talking about. There are certain players, however, who need to be convinced to play. There are certain players who need to be strapped down and told not to play. It is a trait that we look for in a player that's really hard to know until you live with the player and until you see what that player's doing every single day. Word came out about Luka Doncic taking pain shots before he played game 2. That's a Tuesday in sports. It's a dirty little secret what some pitchers do in order to be able to pitch. It's a dirty little secret what players do to get themselves ready to play in all the major sports. And the reason why it's dirty is we don't want our kids to do it until our kids are getting paid. And if they're going to do it, get them paid earlier. Hence the rush in Florida for NILs in high school. Hence the rush for NIL rights and monetization in college. There is a ceiling that the body has to perform in a way that would lead to compensation. There are people who make the decision every day to do things with reckless indifference toward their future. We do it. Do you listen to loud music on your headphones? Do you tell your kids, turn it down, you're going to go deaf? And every kid says, not me. And then what'd you say? They're in their 50s and 60s and they can't hear squat. Use sunscreen. Nah, skin cancer's for someone else. Criminy, they just cut the Grand Canyon in my forehead. We try to teach people, and they will only learn when they experience them themselves. It seems normal. Everyone says their situation's different. That's a first, I think. Have I sneezed? For those of you who say God bless you or Gesundheit, thank you. Where were we? What were we just talking about? Nothing. We were talking about a topic. Luka, injuries, skin cancer. I got there. We all say we're good. Certain players will say, my arm doesn't hurt. They take the mound and they're pitching differently. Their velocity's down. We go talk to them. I'm good. And then we look at them again and we'll pull them out. Why? Not because their arm hurts, because they're ineffective. What we say to the media is, oh, we noticed a change in mechanics. We wanted to protect our player. We didn't want him to get further hurt. Horse hockey. We wanted him to get outs. And when he couldn't get outs anymore, we took him out of the game. Lucas says he wants to take a pain shot. No problem. It could have an impact on childbearing. Not our issue. I'm not saying that it does or does not, but it could, but it doesn't enter into our equation. Hey, don't go on all those steroids. Let's not go on any steroid packs. Celebrex. The only reason we stopped giving players Celebrex is we were told that we absolutely could not because it was proven. And I don't want to sully Celebrex because there's a 69% chance I have the drug name wrong, but you never know. It was some drug we gave to players. Hey, your arm hurts, so you got a little thing in your elbow, shoulder, knee, your retinaculum. No problem. Take this 5 days. Your tummy's going to hurt. You may want to have some food. Toradol, no problem. We'll shoot that right into your arm until the sun goes down. Get out there and pitch. It won't hurt till it wears off. Trust me, you may feel like you have to go to the bathroom, but you don't. These are real conversations. So the Celtics are going to figure out with a 2-0 lead, with Porzingis hurting in the posterior tibialis tendon of the retinaculum, they're not going to play him. There's no reason to play him. They're on serve. Let Dallas win game 3, and then figure out what you're going to do for game 4. Luka, I don't care what's hurting him. He's playing. There is no depth on the Mavs, and frankly, with Luka as the best player on the court, it still may not make a difference. Hang in there. 5 more days, 8 more days, 10 more days. When players have long-term contracts, there are those in the business who will tell you, well, we have to protect our investment. That is true game 72 of the regular season. When you have a chance to win a ring and you have a chance to go all the way, you are not well thinking about your future investment. It makes no sense to. I have always had an issue with protecting players when you are in the middle of the playoffs. There is no reason to protect them. There was an executive who just came out about innings limits. It may have been the Yankees pitching coach with the Yankees star rookie who has pitching to a 2 ERA, is pitching great. And the question was about innings limits. And he said, innings limits, we're not even thinking about that right now. I love that. I'm not sure the agent loves that, but I do. So we'll find out what happens with Porzingis, but wait to see unofficial. He's not going to play in tonight's game 3. It would not make sense to me. Nothing. Personal pick of the day. 0 for 2. We had the Cards beating the Pirates. Skeens pitched great. The Cardinals lineup was not able to figure him out. Mikolas pitched great, had a perfect game into the 5th. The Pirates lineup wasn't able to figure him out. The shutout got ruined in the 9th inning, except the Pirates got 2 runs and the Cards only got 1. That's a loss. Isn't that always funny when it's a shutout and then someone scores and then all of a sudden the other team answers? We had Jordan Hicks beating the Astros in Blanco. They lost a 1-run game, so we are down to 81 and 91. We keep hovering around the 10 under 500. We get to 8, back to 10, get to 11, then we win, get to 10. We're taking the Mavs and we're giving 2.5 to the Celtics today. This is not the cynical David saying we don't want a final sweep, but we really don't want a final sweep. This is not me saying that the Mavericks have a chance to win the series, because they don't. And we had the Celtics in 6, and we may have meant 5. But there's something about this game. There's something about Kyrie. There's something about Luka that tells me take the over in their player props. They are going to both have a very good game. If there's a field goal percentage prop, we can try to look at that as well, because Irving has shot terribly, and I would expect him to turn it around. He will not have a bad series game by game. But the Mavericks are going to win today, 2.5 over the Cards. It's a day off for the Stanley Cup, but it made news, as it should. I was trying to figure out if it made news outside of Florida, and it did. Did you see some of the Edmonton Oilers cheap shots? We talked about it yesterday. I think we touched on it, or at least we wanted to. It was in the rundown. The reason why I want to bring it up again is you had some players talking about it, and you had the NHL say that it looks like no further discipline at all for Draisaitl, who had that hit to Barkov, which everyone has seen. He left his feet. He got the elbow up, and it dazed and confused him. Hockey players can get stitches, broken jaws. They can have dislocated parts of the body. They're playing. They cannot put any weight on a leg. They get off the ice. They get to the training room, and boom, it's a Christmas frickin' miracle. They're back on the ice. Those guys put the T in tough. The NHL had to put a concussion protocol in. It's slightly different than the NFL and Major League Baseball's concussion protocol in that there's way more input on behalf of the player. Hey, man, I'm just aiming for the middle one of you. I'm good. Let me out there. Great. Head on out there. I'm just kidding, Gary. Don't be offended. I know that your protocol is just as strict as the other sports, and that you want to make sure that your players do not play concussed. Paul Maurice is my favorite coach in hockey. He's coaching the Panthers. He's a great in-game interview. He's a great coach. He's trying to win the cup. He's been coaching for over 25 years. He's got the 4th most victories. I think he has the most victories of someone without winning a cup. He's 2 games away from that changing. And he told his team, listen, chaps, you're going to be asked by the media to create bulletin board material for the Edmonton Oilers. We would be appreciative if you would keep your yapper shut. When asked about the hit to Barkov, just say nothing. Just say, yeah, didn't see it or saw it, part of the game. 2 games, 2 wins. That is what we need. Are we still on camera, Coca? My new camera is flashing in the most amazing different lights, and I don't really know what that means, but we'll see if we are. I forgot to shut off. Oh, I did. I'm supposed to shut off the tracker so it's moving when I move. We're live. Oh, it is. You are looking live at me on a camera if you're on the Nothing Person with David Samson YouTube channel. If I stand up right now, this is going to be fun. This new camera. Is it going to follow me? Oh, yeah. That's very dangerous. Oh, there's nothing in this room that I wouldn't want you to see. Although that's not true. If I walk to the other side, it's a New York City apartment, you'd see, and I like supplies, you'd see a huge box of extra Charmin, Kleenex, Bounty, and of course, other supplies like shampoo, conditioner, and baseball bats. Coca. I'm funny. Meadowlark audio department tells me to do stuff, and then I call and say, yo, nothing's working. And they say, did you do the 5 things you were supposed to do? And I say, well, did you write them down for me? No, but you're supposed to remember. Now I've written them down. Change the tracker. Okay, where were we? We were on Paul Maurice and them and the Panthers being so disciplined, knowing they have 2 games left. 2 games to win. Do not get major game misconducts. Do not fight. Do not stick your stick in between anyone's legs. Do not pay back the Oilers for the cheap shots. Not worth it. Here's why. It's going to feel really good now. It's crack. So good. So I hear, never done it, of course, but so good. I'll never do cocaine. Side note, never done it, never tried it. I feel like my heart rate is just fine the way it is. I feel like if I ever did it, I'd explode. Plus, I've told you, I come from the Len Bias school of cocaine once, maybe too many times. So the only thing I've heard about it is feels really good, and then it goes away, and then you don't feel so good. That's what slashing is. That's what fighting is. That's what getting a game, a major, a 5-minute major, or a misconduct. You've got 2 games to win. Be bullied. Draw the penalties. The Panthers are so disciplined. They are a reflection of their coach. They're going to get this right. And that makes me super happy. I did want and do want a 7-game series. My schedule would allow me to go to Florida for game 7, Coca. So I'm rooting for 7. On the other hand, it's hard not to root for the Panthers. So we'll see what happens. But boy, those guys listen to their coach. Matthew Tkachuk said, I have no response or comment on that. You think that Tkachuk doesn't have a comment or a statement based on the cheap shot that his defensive captain got? You think there's a chance he has nothing to say? Believe me. Can we talk about Aaron Rodgers? I hesitate to bring him up, but I'm going to. I hate the fact that we have another season right now. No, I love the fact that football is going to start again. I love football. I love watching it. I'm in. I'm not a huge fan of mandatory minicamp. Can't say I get all worked up for live remotes from mandatory minicamp. Hey, it's OTAs. Thank God we have some sort of NFL content here on every single media station. Thank the heavenly Lord. This is the old baseball David coming through right now. Angry that NFL is trying to own mandatory minicamp. So the coaches meet the media. We're going to cover 2 teams, and one of them is going to be the New Jersey Jets. And the reason why we have to cover the Jets is that they have Aaron Rodgers and that the NFL wants to make good. So every Jets game, no matter how crappy they are, is going to be on national television again. Although when you live in New York, every Jets game is available anyway. It's sort of like a great sunrise in Key Biscayne, never been there, or a car crash. You just can't turn away. So Aaron Rodgers gets ready. He's getting ready for mandatory minicamp. He's all excited. He's talked to you about his time with the Jets, how he wants to show everyone that he's the player he was and that age is not going to win. And then he doesn't show up. So Saleh has to meet the media and listen to what this guy said.
And I spoke before OTA started. He's been very good in communication. He's been here the entire time. It's inexcused, but he had an event that was very important to him, which he communicated.
Both are inexcused.
Both inexcused, yes.
So are they getting fined?
They're both subject to the CBA fine schedule.
Hold on one second. Welcome back. I'm just going to quickly check. I'm looking for inexcused in the dictionary. I can't quite find it. I think he meant unexcused, but let's not quibble over an I and a U. Let's talk about the fact that Aaron Rodgers said, it's something very important to me, so I can't be a mandatory minicamp. When you're a player, a professional player, or an executive, I had no place I had to be for 18 years. There were certain jobs. First day of spring training, opening day, 162 games. Hey, yeah, it's my job. Do I have the ability to take some games off? Yes, I do. Do players? No, they don't, because guess what? During the offseason, I'm in the office. They're not. When you know the dates for mandatory minicamp and you tell your organization, listen, I've got something. Now, could Aaron Rodgers be taking care of sick kids? Great. I love that. Making an appearance at a charity event. You know how charitable I am. You had me at hello. However, you don't accept any invitation to an event. That's like asking a player, hey, can you make an appearance at 7:05 p.m. on Saturday night? Oh, you have a game? Yeah, I know, but would you mind an appearance? Or there's a spring training game at 1 p.m. on a random Wednesday. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can't be there today. The number of players I had ask me, hey, can I miss spring training? I've got an event that means a lot to me. Wait for it. Let me think. 0. Coaches, 0. And I've had from some famous players and coaches, from Bonds to Ichiro to Cabrera to Pudge. I could go down the list, coming up with an excuse to do it during the off season. Infuriating to me that Aaron Rodgers, and it's not that mandatory minicamp is this whole big deal, but it's always the first 2 weeks of June. So therefore, you have to know to keep your schedule open. And what Salo was talking about is the reason they're calling it unexcused is because under the CBA, they're going to get fined, and he's going to get fined like $101,000 for the 3 days he misses. Basically, it's a rounding error. It's totally fine. It's like when we fine players $500 for something and they tell us to shove it and take it out of their meal money. What's the difference? So I have a suggestion on how the Jets should be handling Aaron Rodgers, because this whole kid glove thing, it doesn't work. He made such a deal out of this. It's top of the news. If you are the owner of the Jets or the president of the Jets, and you know that Aaron Rodgers is not going to be at mandatory minicamp because he told you about something back during OTAs, and you wait for the day of to say it in a regular press conference, and then you just drop that. I was going to say drop a Woj bomb, but I don't think you can call it that anymore when it's not based on truth. And so you're going to wait until day of and create the headline. No, the minute you know he's not going to be there, you announce it through him. I want Aaron Rodgers in front of the camera saying, listen, teammates, fans, I love you all. I'm getting ready for the season. I unfortunately will not be at mandatory minicamp. I'm supposed to be there. I am taking the fine, and I'm choosing to be somewhere else. It's like a player choosing to do something separate from his teammates. It always made me unhappy. Their players. Who is the player? I believe it was Roger Clemens when he signed one of his deals with Toronto back in the day. I think this was it may have been pre-steroids or post-steroids for him, or during. And, or his wife, I mean, of course. And he wanted to only fly to the road games in which he was pitching, but otherwise not go on the road. And Roger, if I have it wrong, tell me. But it's a player like that who was a really accomplished player who just was a pitcher, pitched every 5 days, and just would rather skip road games if he's not going to appear. You know, ostensibly, hey, I want to be with my family, whatever. If all the players spend as much time with their families, or all the executives who claim, hey, I want more time with my family, I think the divorce rate may be a little lower, or maybe higher. So Aaron Rodgers needs to meet the media and explain it. And then I'm not allowing my coach to meet the media and call it an excuse, because I'd tell him to speak better English. And then I wouldn't allow him to say that he wasn't disappointed, which is exactly what Saleh did. He claimed he was not disappointed that Aaron Rodgers wasn't there. He said, selfishly, I want our guys here all the time. But when you get to these mandatory things, you make the best decision for yourself. Obviously, selfishly, want all of them here all the time, but he made a decision, and that's where he went. I don't even understand that statement. Was that workshopped with the Jets? Mandatory is mandatory. It's 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. You know what? Selfishly, I made a decision. I didn't want to be here. See ya. Tracker. Of course I'm going to be here. It's completely absurd to not go. You think the Jets aren't disappointed? I'm not sure the Jets actually give a tinker's arse whether Rodgers shows up or not, because they're so nervous about him being healthy for the regular season, and they so desperately want to prove that the signing of Rodgers was the correct move, that Rodgers knows he can run roughshod over all of them. And he's going to. And he started doing it already. Right. When we come back, we're going to take a break. Let's come back, review a movie that you asked me to see, and I'm going to comment about one person. This is the first person who's written to me about this subject, and I want to talk about it. And then we will get, don't worry, hot dogs are coming. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson. You are tracking our progress here at Nothing Personal on davidsamsonpodcast.com. Thank you for spreading the word about the show and building it to what it is. We love doing it every day. We love bringing you something every day. I watch a movie every single day. Coca, this was unreal yesterday. I love getting emails from people and DMs and texts. For those of you who have my cell number, I don't mind it. I really don't. I can't answer all of them, but I answer more than I should, but it's a thing I have in my brain. Somebody wrote to me, why are you reviewing so many documentaries? Documentaries aren't movies. And I near lost my mind. Now I try to be nice. Why? Because that's a subscriber. That's an audience member. I don't want to sully an audience member. I don't want to say that audience member doesn't know what the heck he, she, or they are talking about. I don't want to tell that audience member that I will not ever again take an email or a suggestion from that person, given that point of view, when there are documentaries that teach you could actually learn something. Hey, I want to watch Deadpool. I do too. But documentaries are good. They can teach you as long as you're willing to continue to do research and recognize that some documentaries have a point of view, Michael Moore. Some documentaries have a point of view, An Inconvenient Truth. Some documentaries have a point of view, Food Inc. And their point of view may be right, it may be wrong. You may be crazy. What I do know is it's a real kind of movie. So just for you, and you know who you are because you told me you listen and watch every day. So if you're out there ready for what I watched yesterday, just to spite you, and I listened to another audience member who asked me to watch Rumble, the Indians who rocked the world. It's a 2017 documentary feature. Boom. I had no idea. I had no idea. And I am ignorant regarding so many issues that it's always a slight imposter syndrome when people think I'm super smart. Because the answer is we're all super smart in certain areas and we're all super ignorant in others. Now, I agree it's the smart people who know the difference between the two. And in that way, I've got you covered. I will never talk to you about things I don't know. You will not see me trying to explain to you gravity. I just know that when I jump up, generally I come down. I had no idea that Native Americans, but this documentary is called The Indians Who Rock the World, both in Canada and the US, they were the origin of the music that you listen to today. I was watching one after another, from the Black Eyed Peas to Steve Van Zandt of Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band to Martin Scorsese. All of them are being interviewed. And they're talking about how, and all of them except Martin, their musical taste, their abilities, their sound, all traces back to Indians. It's outstanding. Thank you for giving me that piece of knowledge and for asking me to review that movie. I do appreciate it. My jaw was open as I was listening to these musicians describe their affinity to this music. And then there was an interview of people, Native Americans today, who are still making this music and how it traces back to their elders, their relatives. Just another thing. What's the word? Is it music appropriation? Go watch it. Rumble, the Indians who rock the world. We talked about the Jets in minicamp. What's the second team that you would say we've talked the most about? I'm sure we could do a search of terms. My guess is Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, maybe. We spent a fair bit of time talking about Russell Wilson, the Steelers, Mike Tomlin. There is no way I was going to pass this up. A couple days ago, Mike Tomlin signed a 3-year extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can someone explain to me what the Steelers are doing? Can someone explain to me what Tomlin's done to deserve a 3-year extension? And don't give me the line that we like continuity. I come from the other side of continuity, all the way to the extreme. Give me a new manager every year. Fine by me. The Steelers say, do you know we've only had 3 head coaches since the 1970s? Do you know we went straight from Knox to Cowher to Tomlin? And do you know what I say? I don't give a good god darn. When you're on a list with Marvin Lewis for not winning playoff games, that's not good. When you haven't made the playoffs in a whole chunk of years, that's also not good. The argument of Mike Tomlin not finishing under 500 ever since he took over, that's good. Thank you. That's outstanding. A .633 winning percentage. I'm in. The Steelers have been to the playoffs 11 times. Hell yeah. What is the reason for the 3-year extension right now when he's coming off a string of absolute crap? I figured it out. Because the team has such a good chance of stinking because Russell Wilson is their quarterback, not that it's going to last for long, that you don't want people to in any way think that Tomlin's the problem. You've told him who to play. You've told him the players he's going to get. We'll give him the extension, and everything will be copacetic. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise, one of the North Star franchises in the NFL. They're so wrapped up in their perception, in their persona, that they forgot to actually look at their performance. Trading for Russell Wilson is going to turn out to be, I'm happy to say it, trading for Russell Wilson will end up being an absolute disaster. Not a financial one because they're barely paying him a pittance, but they're going to find out that I'm not sure that he can lead a team anymore to victories. The good news is that Russell Wilson was at mandatory minicamp, 1-0 you, Russell. He met the media and said to everyone, I've got a fountain of youth, and it's not because I've got a bunch of kids and my wife. I'm telling you, I feel great. I'm revived, he said. The Broncos released him, and he made, $80 million after his release. Remember, he signed that 5-year, $245 million deal, and he was owed $85 million, and the Broncos said, you know what? We'd rather pay you to go away. That guy's better off than I've ever been. Getting paid not to talk, now getting paid to talk. Getting paid not to work, that's Yahtzee. So Russell Wilson gets paid by the Broncos. Then he said, listen, I got to try. I'll play somewhere else. All you got to do is pay me the minimum. And the Steelers said, step right up to our continuity machine. Come be our quarterback. Hold on 1 second before we introduce you. We're going to make a quick trade. Hey, Fields, what do you think? You want to join our berry men of underperforming QBs along with our incredibly consistent head coach? You'll love playing for him. And frankly, it's not necessarily about winning. I'm smiling. I really am smiling. What's going to happen? How does it work in the NFL? I'm an MLB guy. I love the NFL and NBA, but NHL. How long do you give Russell Wilson? You give him a couple starts? Remember, every start in the NFL, it's like 10 games in baseball. So you give position players 10 games for sure. You give them 20 games for sure. If they have a track record, you give them 60 games, 2 months worth before doing anything, notwithstanding sending out Jose Abreu. But generally, you do that. Has Russell Wilson earned the right to have some bad games, have the team underperform when Fields is right there with the clipboard saying, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play? That's going to be the great drama surrounding those Pittsburgh Steelers. But don't worry, he's got the leadership and commitment to take this team to the next level. I guess he does. He gave a quote when he was brought on to be coach and given this extension just now. It was pretty good. I'm appreciative for this contract extension and thankful for Art Rooney for his support during my first 17 years in Pittsburgh. We are continuing to work diligently to get back to where we belong. So the last couple of years you were not working diligently, or you're saying you're going to keep doing what you've been doing that hasn't led to results, which means it's not going to lead to results again. I would like the quote to be this: one time, I'd like a coach to say, I never begrudge Jeter for saying it, except you're supposed to say it about on the field, not me. Everything that we've done leading to all the losing we've done, we're not doing it again. Except people instead, 4869. Instead, people say, we are going to keep doing what we're doing to bring a championship to you, the fans. Well, wait a minute. We haven't won in forever. Can you not keep doing what you've been doing? Because what you've been doing is stinky. It leads to losing. Have you ever done a eating contest? Have I told you all about my Big Mac challenge? I don't mean like a Morgan Spurlock rest his soul type of challenge where you eat McDonald's 3 meals a day every day for 30 days and go see your doctor and the doctor says, your numbers are not so good. No, I don't mean that. The Big Mac challenge was invented by Larry Beinfest, Michael Hill, and David Samson. Two of those people have something in common, Michael and Larry. They're bigger people. They have the ability to eat in a way that I do not. That said, we did something called the Big Mac Challenge. The Big Mac Challenge was based on gluttony. At any time of the day, you can say Big Mac Challenge. And you have to go to McDonald's. Everyone has to get a Big Mac. And the first person to finish the Big Mac wins $100. The fun of the game is that you only do it after a huge meal where everyone is stuffed, and we ate meals together every day for years. Literally. Drinking out of a fire hose type of every day. If you know, you know. That was a little callback. Clapback? That was a little clap call to Gary Bettman and the Utah guys drinking out of a fire hose, but successfully, literally. Anyone ever had a drink out of a fire hose on a hot summer night in the city on the set of West Side Story? Or in the Heights? Where was I? Big Mac Challenge. After a big meal, you're totally stuffed. You can't eat another thing. Someone calls out the Big Mac Challenge. Bing, bang, boom, you got to do it. So I tried not to take advantage of my life as president. I tried to be a good leader. But when it came to the Big Mac Challenge and my 5'5", 135, there were periods of time during the Big Mac Challenge that I was 5'5", $118. We can talk about that another time, but I was not entirely healthy. I'm healthier now, though not completely cured. And I was able to convince them, hey, I'm only doing a quarter pounder. And I would still lose because my capacity to eat was not never ending. So I lost the Big Mac Challenge every single time. We did it with our kids. We did it with friends. It became a thing. Eating. People love it. People love watching people eat. People love eating themselves. People love the idea of stuffing themselves. People love the idea that people who stuff themselves aren't necessarily fat. Am I the only one who wonders whether there are skinny contestants of Nathan's hot dog eating contest who also have a problem where maybe they vomit after? How can you eat like Joey Chestnut and not be 1,000 pounds? Metabolism? What do you work out? You'd have to run an ultra marathon every day just to play for the tie. I just don't see how it works. And it's not as though it's like, oh, your arm can throw 100, my arm can throw 60. You're a professional baseball player. I'm not. Maybe it's the same with eating. Your stomach can handle 60 hot dogs. Mine can't. That's why he's a professional eater. Maybe I just talked myself into Joey Chestnut being a professional athlete. Big news yesterday All of your plans on July 4th have now changed because there's a fight going on, and it's a great fight. Joey Chestnut has been banned from competing in the hot dog eating contest. The famous summer hot dog eating contest on July 4th that's always live that you want to watch because it's like a train wreck. You can't stop. It's so disgusting. Does anyone else think of Stand By Me? The pie eating contest scene? I think about that whenever I watch the hot dog eating contest. And then, of course, I go into a Google rabbit hole, a TikTok rabbit hole, and I'm looking for guys who are eating the most sushi, the most cookies, the most Chick-fil-A's, whatever the case may be. I went to this restaurant and I had 49 of this. I went online. There was a guy who ate a pyramid of Big Macs all in a row. It's insane. So this is a company, and this is when we get serious. There's something called Major League Eating. Major League Eating is like Major League Baseball, except the eaters are not unionized. Their TV deal is slightly smaller, and the amount they pay to their players is a pittance compared to what baseball players get. That said, it's called Major League Eating. Major League Eating has deals with companies like Nathan's. Major League Eating pays people to engage in their contests. As a matter of fact, there are people like Joey Chestnut who, rumor is, got paid like a couple $100K every time he would show up to Coney Island on July 4th. Not a bad day of work. However, when you become Joey Chestnut or any other person who makes a living by eating or playing a sport or by working, and you are paid a certain amount of money, and someone comes to you and says, I'd like you to do exactly what you're doing, but I'm going to pay you double. Most people will consider that, and that's why people are poached and switch jobs, switch agents, switch networks. That's why they switch shoe companies. You'll switch mortgages, won't you, when the rates go down from a competitive bank, as long as the closing fees and switching out doesn't cost the difference in the lower rate, won't you? When you have an opportunity to save money or to make more money than you're making, don't you? Joey Chestnut did just that. He got an offer from Impossible Foods saying, we will give you $1.2 million over 4 years. Guaranteed. You can win the hot dog eating contest. You cannot participate. You can lose it. You can eat vegan food. You cannot. Here's the deal. We're sponsoring you. You will be a vegan brand Impossible Food guy. Now, the irony of that is not lost on me. When I'm sitting at the conference room of Impossible Foods, hey, let's find someone to represent our brand. Hold on. Let me think of the biggest, most famous carnivore of all time. Let's go get Joey Chestnut. Hey, sponsorship group of Impossible Foods, you're fired. It's absurd. You think the people who are fans of Joey Chestnut are going to say, oh my God, I have an idea. Let's go vegan. I think we should be eating non-meat Impossible dogs. They may be confused as to which kind, but they're in the US, not necessarily in China. All of that said, Major League Eating said, we've got to deal with Nathan's. You cannot participate in this year's hot dog eating contest, and people lost their minds. So the spokesman for Major League Eating said, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to explain to all of the morons out there why we can't have Joey Chestnut eating Nathan's hot dogs when he represents a competitor, Vegan Impossible Dogs. Not so sure that's a competitor, but I digress. The quote is, it would be like Michael Jordan saying to Nike, I'm going to represent Adidas too. That is what Major League Eating event organizer George Shea said. OMG. Was that workshopped? Are you trying to say that Joey Chestnut is Michael Jordan, Or are you trying to say that Nathan's is Nike and Impossible Foods is Adidas? I come from a long line of people who appreciated Michael Jordan wearing the American flag over the Reebok of the sweatsuit that he had to wear to get the gold medal in 1992. I absolutely love that when you have an affinity to a brand because they pay you, that you do not in any way wear or represent another brand. However, do you think that Michael Jackson did not play in facilities where they served Coke? I have no idea why that just came to my head since he's not performing anywhere. Do you think that Michael Jordan and his Nike deal would not go play in an Adidas arena? Wait, Michael Jordan was a Coke guy. Didn't he do all those commercials for Coke? I cannot play in a ballpark that is sponsored by Pepsi. This is called the Pepsi Center. I forfeit. That's only one level of the insanity of that comment. The second one is trying to compare anything to what Jordan did with Nike. The third thing is having the wrong idea with what you're saying. Here's what Major League Eating should be doing. They should be sitting with Joey Chestnut and saying, we'd like to meet with you and your agent. We want to make sure you're not in violation of the terms of your agreement because there's no way Impossible Foods gave you $300,000 a year for you to represent Impossible Foods and not take place and part of the hot dog eating contest because that's the only way people know who in the heck you are. You're the 6-time defending champion. Michael, we're going to sign you to a deal, but we don't want you playing basketball anymore. It's preposterous. You think Impossible Foods said, no, we are not allowing him. And you think that the people at Major League Eating are better off by having Joey Chestnut not participate in the hot dog eating contest? Do you think that people watch it just out of habit? Do you think that they're just watching it saying, give me the new generation of disgustingness and we're in. Give me you're thin, you're tired, you're fat, and you're poor. We are going to find a new winner. Joey Chestnut's won it every year since 2007, except for the 1 year in like 2015, he lost to a guy by 2 dogs. This guy's got the world record of 76 dogs and buns in 10 minutes. That's 7.6 a minute. Go try that at a baseball game. This has to get taken care of. So I've got a solution. I want Joey Chestnut to get to Coney Island. I want him to sit down in front of a plate of all the hot dogs and all the buns. I want him to be wearing a shirt that gets covered in slop and water and bun. And I want it to say impossible. And then I want him to say, does this look vegan, with an arrow down toward his belly? I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm laughing at this whole situation that makes news and allows me to tell you that there will be a solution. There has to be a solution. Wait to see is when I tell you something's going to happen. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, fine. We have a first in today's show, Coca. Never happened before. Somebody went on davidsamsonpodcast.com and sent me a note and predicted what the way to see would be for today's show. And there have been many of you who have tried, and none of you have gotten it right. In 1,071 shows where we've had, I'm sure, 1,060 wait to sees. Well, guess what? You nailed it. Wait to see, a deal will be made that will allow Joey Chestnut to compete on July 4th of 2024. They will find a way to get him defending his crown of gluttony. They will find a way to not offend or bother the vegan brand Impossible Foods while not upsetting Major League Eating or Nathan's. They will sit down over a cup of coffee and a schmear, because you certainly don't think they sit down and serve at their board meetings a bunch of hot dogs or vegan burgers, do you? They will sit down and they will figure out what to do, much like the NBA does, much like concert stars do, record stars, performers, much like executives do, much like anyone does. And the reason why is that it's just business. This is nothing personal.